Number 1. Traditional gender roles no longer exist. The good old days, when women stayed at home and men went out to work. But now, women are taking over the workforce and men are taking over the kitchen. What is happening to our society? Well, it turns out that traditional gender roles have shifted in recent years, and most men might be feeling a little uncertain about what their role is in a modern marriage. In the past, men were expected to be the sole breadwinners, while women were expected to be the caregivers. But now, modern women are just as likely to pursue careers as men are, and men are expected to take on more domestic responsibilities. They're cooking, cleaning, and even changing diapers. What the heck is going on here? Some might be feeling a little lost and confused in this new modern marriage model. So what does this mean for marriage? Well, for some men, it might mean that they are hesitant to tie the knot. They're not sure if they're supposed to be the provider, the caregiver, or both. They're not sure if they're supposed to be the strong, silent type or the sensitive, emotional type. They're not sure if they're supposed to wear the pants in the relationship or share them with their partner. This has become too complicated, and most men just don't want to deal with all of the conflicts that come along with this type of arrangement. I mean, whose turn is it to wear the pants today, and how do we decide? Should we toss a coin? The sad reality is that modern women today would agree to tossing the coin under the terms of heads I win, tails you lose, either way they win, and men would much rather let them keep the coin and call it a day. Number 2. Divorce is a high probability. Ah, the joys of divorce. Who wouldn't want to sign up for that, right? It's no wonder some guys are hesitant to tie the knot these days. After all, who wants to risk losing everything they've worked so hard for in a messy legal battle? About 40–50% of first marriages end in divorce, according to the American Psychological Association, and 80% of them are initiated by the woman. Even more people get divorced when they get married for the second time. About 60–67% of second marriages end in divorce, and I wouldn't bank on the third time being a charm. Think about it. As men, if your marriage falls apart, you could be looking at a financial disaster. You might end up losing your house, your car, and even your prized collection of vintage action figures. And let's not forget about the legal fees. They could be enough to bankrupt you faster than you can say irreconcilable differences. But the financial risks are just the tip of the iceberg. There's also the emotional toll of divorce to consider. If your marriage ends, you might find yourself feeling like a total failure, wondering where it all went wrong. And if you have kids, it can be even worse. They might blame themselves for the breakup, or worse, blame you. And then there's the social stigma. Let's face it, nobody wants to be the guy who couldn't make his marriage work. You'll be the subject of endless gossip and speculation, with your every move scrutinized and analyzed by your friends and family. You might even find yourself ostracized from certain social circles, like the ones where they only invite married couples to their dinner parties. So it's no surprise that some guys are choosing to avoid marriage altogether, or put it off until they feel more financially and emotionally secure. After all, there are plenty of other ways to find happiness and fulfillment in life. You could adopt a dog, start a band, or take up macrame. Who needs a spouse when you have a hot glue gun and a dream? Number 3. It's too risky and too costly. Men aren't getting married because, for many of them, the benefits of marriage aren't as great as they used to be, while the costs and risks are much higher. Simply put, the squeeze is not worth the juice. Men know that, in the end, they could lose a lot, including their freedom, their money, and even custody of their children. Everyone knows that the courts are more likely to side with women than men. They are known for giving women more when it comes to dividing property, paying child support, and getting alimony, even if they aren't married. In some occasions, they even get to keep the dog. Yes, even men's best friend can be in jeopardy when the poop hits the fan. Number 4. Men can lose lots of money. For example, a businessman in Ontario was told to pay his ex-girlfriend more than $50,000 a month, even though they did not own a house together or have children. Under Ontario law, a couple who has lived together for at least 3 years is considered to be a common-law spouse, even if they are not married. Fellas, make sure you do your due diligence and know the state laws before even considering moving in with your girlfriend or even contemplating marriage, because what you don't know may actually come back to bite you in the rear. Can you imagine having to pay your ex-girlfriend $50,000 a month because she couldn't deal with you leaving the toilet seat up and decided to call it quits? Well, if all of that doesn't scare the pants off of men, and keep them running for the hills when it comes to tying the knot, I don't know what will. I mean, who wouldn't want to risk losing their fortune in one clean swoop? It's like playing Russian roulette with your bank account and your sanity. Sign me up. Number 5. Men lose their children. Poor men. It seems like they just can't catch a break when it comes to their little ones. Sometimes they even lose custody altogether. And don't even get me started on these sneaky women who try to trap their men into fatherhood. Liz Jones over in the UK even went so far as to steal her ex's seed. But sadly, it didn't work out for her. And then there are those ladies who pretend to be on the pill, only to surprise their partners with a little bundle of joy and a big fat child support bill. I mean, can you blame these poor guys for feeling a bit agitated about having to pay for a child they didn't want? But of course, the courts always know best. And apparently, it's in the child's best interest to have financial support from a father who didn't even get a say in the matter. And let's not forget about all the perks that come with being a single mom. Free health insurance, welfare, the works. Meanwhile, the dads get zilch. Life is just so fair, isn't it? Well, it seems like when a married couple gets divorced, the kids always end up with mom, doesn't it? Only 10% of the time do the dads get to have their little ones stay with them. But don't worry, fellas. Even if you don't get to see your kids all that much, you still get to pay for them. That's right. It's your responsibility to shell out that sweet child support and alimony, whether you get to see your offspring or not. And let's be real. The courts don't really seem to think that dads are all that important when it comes to raising children anyway, do they? As long as you're paying up, you can go ahead and fade into the background, daddy-o. In a society striving for equality, these laws about men and women might be out of date. Women make up half of the workforce, so why do we assume there are unfair differences between men and women when it comes to marriage and family problems? If the risks of getting married were the same for both men and women, maybe more men would feel like they have less to lose. It's so risky, and things might not change quickly. Still, if we want men to see marriage in a positive light again so that we can keep having strong families, it will take a long-term, focused effort from women, men, and the government. A good place to start is by being aware of the problems men face, trying to understand them, and trying to see things from their point of view.